Hey guys, Tony here. Yeah, back once again. It's been a little while. Um, I didn't mean to be gone for as long as I was. Um, yeah, it just kind of happened that way. I unintentionally took the summer off, and sort of like when the opportunity would arise where I could make a video, I sort of didn't feel like it, and then some time had passed, and I was just like, I don't know, but I figured it was time I get back on here and show you some new vinyl. Not all of it's really new. My absence is definitely not for lack of things to show. I have some stuff going back quite a ways to well before my first video, so I sort of culled together a nice little pile of things. Now, if you did watch my last video, which I think was back in June, it was pretty long. It was 50 minutes, and that's 50. So while some people have said they enjoy the longer videos, I'm going to do my best to try and keep it shorter. Let's say shorter than that, Um, yeah, it's a lot to ask somebody to sit there and watch me for close to an hour. So I'm going to do my best. I've said this before. But yeah, I hope everybody out there is doing well. It's good to see people making videos in the vinyl community. For a while there, it was looking pretty grim for the video side of things. But it's good to see people making videos again and being enthusiastic about it all. Yeah, I'm coming up on 4 years doing this. Sometime in October, it'll be 4 years. It's pretty crazy. Time just flies, and how much has changed in that time. So, anyway, I hope everybody out there is doing well. As always, I appreciate you tuning in and watching me. I hope you bear with me. I feel really out of practice. So, anyway, let me get started here. Again, lots of different stuff. And I will start with a compilation that I picked up, I don't know, like last Friday, so about a week ago. And yeah, this is awesome. I will say, even if you have everything else that this artist has done, I would still recommend this. And that is Sun Ra and his orchestra, In the Orbit of Ra. So it's a new compilation. It just came out. It's on Strut Records. And yeah, it's a compilation, so songs all put together by Marshall Allen. Marshall Allen, of course, the longtime member of the orchestra. And I want to say he's the leader of the orchestra now. But I want to say I think he might have been the band director during Sun Ra's time. But anyway, I'm asked fairly often. I've been asked once, actually, since buying this, where's a good place to start with Sun Ra. And I'm now very confident that this is probably the best place. Nothing on here is too far out. It's all pretty much rhythm and groove-based Sun Ra, no real free jazz sort of freak outs and things. It's all pretty easy to listen to, and it's excellent. Again, even if you have everything, do pick this up because it's that good. There are 2 unreleased songs on here. One unreleased version of a song that's never been put out. I'm sorry, that's been put out before. But, there's a different version. And there are a couple of extended tracks on here. But the main thing, more than that, is it sounds great. Everything has been remastered. And honestly, I don't know if I've ever heard Sun Ra sound this good. I mean, he has some later stuff that definitely sounds, quality-wise, sounds better than his earlier stuff. But it sounds really good. It's a 2 LP set. And again, stuff taken from many different albums. There's sort of a guide, what albums came from what, and then there's some liner notes. But it also comes with the CDs. The CDs are just kind of thrown in there. They're not in any sleeves. So be mindful if you do get it. Also, one thing I appreciated was that they took the LPs out of the sleeves. Like, they weren't put in the sleeves, but they were put in the gatefold and then shrink wrapped. So you don't get any split seams if you were to have it shipped to you or whatnot. But anyway, excellent stuff. I've listened to it quite a bit, especially in the car with the CDs, and it's a great set. So there you go. And same time that I picked that up, I also picked this up. So I've had the chance to listen to it a few times now, all the way through. I've listened to it twice all the way through, and I've listened to a little bit more. And I will leave this. Everybody and their mother is going to be showing this, so I will leave it to people that are more well versed in this kind of music to talk a little bit more in depth about it. I will just say that first of all, I love this artist, and the guy's a genius, and this album is phenomenal, and I highly recommend picking it up if it's your thing. That, of course, is Aphex Twin, his new album, Richard D. James, his new album, Zero. 3 LPs. So, Aphex Twin, Richard D. James, was on sort of musical hiatus for quite some time. I want to say over a decade, I believe. And in that time, he raised a family, and but he kept working. So what this is he said just a little bit of what he was working on in that time. And if you like him, you'll like this. You know, it's definitely him. It's like he sort of picks up right where he left off. Excellent stuff. It also came with some promotional items. The sticker for one. This sticker. That's the pre-order card. It is on Warp, by the way. And it came in a bag. Nice Aphex Twin bag, which I never thought I'd own. An Aphex Twin bag. A little booklet with just some photographs and things, promotional. And a nice promo poster. So yeah, really great album. I like it quite a bit. So this one, I got to give a really overdue thank you. I mean, going back to Black Friday now, so yeah, it's been a while. Coming up on a year. To Todd Wilson. Todd, if you watch this, I've thanked Todd online. But on Black Friday, my local store got in a record that he wanted, and he couldn't get his hands on. So I picked up a copy and sent it to him. And as a thank you, he sent me this. He had an extra copy. I'd never heard of it before, and at all. So, you know, I wasn't quite sure what it was. And when I got it and I listened to it, I liked it right away. Now, it's a band from Finland. Heavy psych, heavy blues with some jazz touches thrown in. But the band is called Charlie's, and the album is Charlie's Buttocks. So yeah, Charlie's Buttocks. And it's actually really good. Again, I didn't quite know what to expect. It originally came out in 1970 or 71. I guess 71. On the Love Records label over here. But this is a Shaddux reissue. They only did 500 of them, and that was like a year ago, so I don't know how available they are, but it's excellent. So yeah. So thank you, Todd. Moving on, here's a couple cheap finds. This is probably a really good bargain bin buy, should you see it. At least I would think it's a bargain bin. Excuse me, I paid $3 for it, so it's excellent. Really pleasantly surprised by this. I'd heard a little bit about it before, and I came across it locally, and it was $3, so I grabbed it. It's by an artist named Ellen McIlwain, and this is her album Honky Tonk Angel. And what you have here is she is interesting story about her. She was born in Nashville, but she was adopted. Her adoptive parents were missionaries, so she was raised in Japan. And there she was exposed to all kinds of music, Japanese music for one. She's really into world music. She was back in the States, I want to say, by the time she was 18. And she was in a Psych band. They put out one album. Fear Itself, I think is the name of the band. I'm not familiar with them, but they put out one album, and then she went solo. She ended up in Greenwich Village, where she was a folkie. She's primarily known as a slide guitar player, so really influenced by the blues. In fact, in Greenwich Village, she opened up for many of the blues greats, Muddy Waters, and very influenced by the blues, and Ray Charles and Professor Longhair. And she put out 2 solo albums on Polydor, and I think this is the first one. So yeah, what you have here is folk rock, folk bass, blues, but it's excellent. Singer-songwriter, and sometimes it's downright funky. I mean, it's really good. I want to say it's been sampled. Everything's been sampled, I'm sure, but trust me, if you see it, pick it up. It's good. From 1972 on Polydor. She actually played with Jimi Hendrix, too, if I failed to mention that, while in Greenwich Village, before Jimi Hendrix broke. And she actually covers one of his songs, Up From the Skies. from Axis Bold as Love. And she does Ode to Billy Joe. And she does a really great version of Can't Find My Way Home. And yeah, just a really nice album. She's still around. I believe she still plays from time to time. Ellen McElwain. Excellent. And here's an artist I've probably gotten into more in the last year or so. I've known about him for a while, though, mainly because he played the Monterey Pop Festival. And I've had the Monterey Pop Festival CDs. But anyway, South African artist, Hugh Masakala. And this is his sort of self-titled album, Masakala. 1968, I believe, or 69. It was cheap. He's a soul jazz artist. You know, he sings and he also plays woodwind. He was part of the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. And sort of self-exiled to the United States, where he sort of picked up his musical career. Good friends of Dollar Brand. They played together, and they were friends. So it's soul jazz with vocals and with a political bent, you know. But he's excellent. This one's really good, but I have one that's from a few years later that's even better, which I'll show in another video. But yeah, this is from 68, 69. I'm not sure which, on the Uni label. And yeah, Hugh Masakala. There's a jazz classic. Not much to say about it. I mean, but the great Freddie Hubbard, Red Clay. His first album on CTI, he left Blue Note, went on CTI, and started going in a more fusion direction. Now, this isn't like full-on fusion like Miles Davis, let's say, but it's definitely going in that direction. He's playing with Joe Henderson and Herbie Hancock, Lenny White and Ron Carter. And yeah, it's a classic on CTI. There's the man there. And it's a gatefold. Outside of the saw cut and a little bit of wear right there. It's a really nice copy for cheap. So, and it's classic. Here's an album by an artist that I have a lot of albums by this guy. And some of his stuff is either really, really straight or for the most part, it's really, really out there. Avant-garde. Really complicated compositions, but the man is brilliant. And I picked this up a while back, and it's just sort of bought. It was cheap, and I didn't really think too much about it. And it probably took like 2 or 3 weeks before I finally got around to playing it. And when I put it on, I was like blown away by it. It starts out kind of straight and then gets progressively more out there, but for the most part, it's all still very listenable. And that's Anthony Braxton, 5 Pieces, 1975. An excellent record. I mean, to my ears, it's not that out there. It's still, very enjoyable, easy to listen to. Somebody else might think it's too out there. It's hard to tell at this point, but Arista, 1975. So it's pretty much the Circle Band, minus Chick Corea, and I think with the addition of Kenny Wheeler, who I don't believe was in the Circle Band, but also Barry Altschul and Dave Holland for the rhythm section. And a great album. Really enjoyed it. Anthony Braxton. Here's one, again, here's another case of an artist sort of changing directions. Going in a more fusion direction once again. Now, this guy would go on to take on full-on fusion, jazz, funk. But at this point, he's kind of in an in-between period. And these are sessions that were never released, at least until 95 when they came out. But that's Donald Byrd with Kofi. But yeah, recorded in 69 and 70, 2 different sessions. And was never put out until 95. And this is the Heavenly Sweetness Blue Note reissue. They're Blue Note sessions. And excellent stuff. Again, not full-on fusion yet, but getting there. Longer compositions and stuff. So, but yeah, love it. Again, it's 2 different sessions. Lou Tabakin is on one of the sessions. Plays flute. It's phenomenal. Airto Moreira's on here. Ron Carter, Frank Foster, among others. But yeah, really good. These Heavenly Sweetness reissues are excellent. So if you're hesitant, don't. They're really nice. So I'm going to try and move a little quicker here. Here's a reissue of a Private Press record, which I wasn't aware of. I saw it at the store and grabbed it. And that is Relatively Clean Rivers. This is a Phoenix Records reissue. So what you have here, I bought it, just bought it. I didn't know what it would be like. I figured it was a Psych album, and I put it on, and at first I was like, okay. And as it kept going, I just sort of grew to love it. I've listened to it a number of times since then, and it's excellent. Mainly on the strength of the compositions. It's just excellent stuff. Really good songs. So it's country rock, folk rock, but with a Psych elements throughout. So sort of little weird Psych intros and things thrown in. But really well done, surprisingly. From 1976, it would have probably fit in 1969, no problem, you know. Very good guitar, acoustic and electric guitar playing, and just well done. I don't know too much else outside of that. But it's a great album, great songs, and I recommend it. Originals, I'm sure, are crazy, expensive, and rare, but relatively clean rivers. Here's a 12-inch single. I don't usually buy singles, but a collection had come in, Red Scroll, and there were a handful that I got. And I'll show the rest another time, but I picked up Primitive Painters by Felt. So Felt, of course, the UK post-punk, alternative rock band, jangle pop, you know, sort of strange band. Their sounds are changed over time. They existed from 1979 to 1989, so 10 years. And in 10 years, they put out 10 albums and 10 singles. I love Felt. One of those bands I've just grown to really like. They're led by Lawrence. He just goes by Lawrence. A real character. And he has a sort of Lou Reed, sort of deadpan, sort of vocal delivery. But excellent stuff. Now, Primitive Painters, the song, is probably their best known song. I think it even broke into the top 10 in the UK. And it would be of particular interest to Cocteau Twin fans. It's from the album, or at least the sessions, Ignite the Seven Cannons, which I don't own, but it was produced by Robin Guthrie. And Primitive Painters, Lawrence shares vocal duties with Elizabeth Fraser. So, from 1985. Now, Primitive Painters is a great song, don't get me wrong. But the B-side I like even better, and it's a re-recording of their song Cathedral off their first album. I like that even more. But yeah, it's on Cherry Red, 12-inch single, Felt, excellent. Here's a record that I got in a purchase where I pretty much got a stack of records for $20. So it costs next to nothing. So and I've always liked one song on it, and but that's the band Move. Roy Wood, of course, Jeff Lane, and this is their fourth and final album, Message from the Country, and it's a really nice album. I've always loved the song Message from the Country. That's sort of why I grabbed it. There's a couple songs on here I could do without. For the most part, it's a good album. And this is their last album. And at this time, even during these sessions, they were changing into Electric Light Orchestra. And they were recording ELO material and Move material at the same time, you know. But, yeah, this is an original UK press on Harvest. Really nice shape. And yeah, if you don't know the track Message from the Country, it's a really good, just rock tune. Check it out. Pretty well known, though. But yeah, Move, Message from the Country. Moving on, here's an album that I read about on just sort of looking up UK folk, UK psych folk. And this was on a few lists, and I wasn't aware of it. And then a used reissue came into Red Scroll, and I picked it up. And it's a strange album. At first, I wasn't sure how much I liked it. It took a few listens to get into, and now I really enjoy it. But that is John St. Field, Control. Now, John St. Field is an alias. This is actually Jackie Levin, who's a Scottish singer-songwriter, and maybe best known as the singer for the band Doll by Doll, which I'm not really familiar with. I know they're sort of a bluesy post-punk band. Know very little about them, but he went by John St. Field for this. You know, he recorded this album in like 70 or 71, and he went by John St. Field, he said, because he was wanted by the law. People were looking for him, and he recorded this album and disappeared. And the record company didn't know what to do. I mean, the artist was gone, So as a result, it only came out in Spain, and so originals, I guess, are next to impossible to find and expensive. But this is, at first listen, it sounds like a pretty straight folk rock album. But when you listen to it more, I mean, there's some pretty obvious things, but for the most part, sort of subtle psychedelic touches throughout. Um, he, Jackie Levin has even said he recorded this after a period of really intense acid use, and when he listens to it now, he could really sort of tell that, But yeah, it's on a lot of lists of like best psych folk records, and it's good. It's sort of I don't know, like a weird album, sort of disguised as a straight album, or maybe vice versa. It's just a cool record. It's interesting. That's in there, and definitely worth listening to. John Stfield of Control. There's a reissue of an album that I've wanted for a while now, and thank God they reissued it. Originals of this, even though it came out in 2009, were going for big money. And while I think this album is phenomenal, it's like a near perfect record for its genre. It's not the kind of thing I would drop big money on. That's just me. But it is an incredible record, and it's its first U.S. press. And that's Roland S. Howard with Pop Crimes. Originally released in 2009, and it was reissued just recently on Fat Possum. Great sort of post-punk indie rock record. I mean, again, it's like near perfect. It's a phenomenal album, though. Roland S. Howard, of course, Australian. He was in the Birthday Party, Boys Next Door with Nick Cave, and put out some solo albums. And this is his last one, shortly after I think he died of liver cancer. But yeah, Roland S. Howard, Pop Crimes. Great song. He does a Talk song, Life's What You Make It. And he also covers a Towns Van Zandt song on here as well. I forget which. Maybe it's Wayward Man. But anyway, great song, a great album. If you haven't picked it up yet, I recommend it. Pop Crimes, Roland S. Howard. Here's one I don't know much about at all. I probably first seen this from Fred, Big Star 1000. Jazz funk record from Argentina. And that is George Lopez Ruiz 5 with Di Prepo. So this is from 1972. And it's just an excellent jazz funk record. Latin jazz funk, heavy on the Fender Rhodes. That's what really stands out. So sort of spacey, sort of jazz fusion, jazz funk, killer. So it's a reissue. Originals of this are probably pretty expensive, but great stuff. Here's a Latin sort of Afro-Cuban. It's a great album. I have a few things by this artist, and this is probably my favorite. But that's Ray Barreto with Indestructible. Now, Ray Barreto, of course, he's from Puerto Rico, but became sort of the Latin music king of New York in his time. And I think the story is with this is that his band left him shortly before this album, sort of left him high and dry. And as a response, he puts together an even better band and puts this out, hence the title and everything. But it's an excellent jazz, like Latin, again, Afro-Cuban influenced jazz record from 1973. This is an original on the Fania label. I have the album right after this as well. Something Road. I can't remember the name, but that's a great one too. I might like this one a little bit more. I've had it for a little while now, so on the Fania label. Classic. Ray Barreto with Indestructible. Killer. Here's a UK neo-psych album. Again, just excellent. And that's Loop. Their second album, Fade Out. I want to say from 88 or 89. Now, I've had Heaven's End for a while, and they're pretty much on par with one another. I mean, right now, I would say Heaven's End is I prefer because I know it more. I know it better, but this is just as good, really. And their sound didn't change too much. So, yeah, neo-psych, sort of heavy psych, spacey. Just really well done. I love this band. And I don't think they changed their sound at all, really, in their history. But, yeah, British band, neo-psych. This is an original U.S. press on Rough Trade. August 1988. Killer. Now here's an original. It's a U.S. or a U.K. press. I couldn't tell you at the moment. But yeah, it is an original one of those. Of cooties and cootie in the Africa 70 with a logbond close. Really nice shape. It might be maybe a UK press. It looks like a UK sleeve. I'm sorry, I should know. No, New York. But yeah, it is an original on Editions Makosa. So this is an earlier album of his, I believe, and it's I believe his first really overtly political. It was recorded after him and his band or members of his band were imprisoned. He's from Nigeria, and they were in prison for a period of months without any trial or anything. The police just sort of raided his home. So yeah, this is a very political album. And Alagbon Close, I believe, is the street in which the police headquarters is located, where he lived. But yeah, Afrobeat, of course, Fela Kuti, sort of the father of Afrobeat, and a really, really nice copy of it. Really happy to have. As usual with him, it's 2 long tracks, so incredible stuff. So happy to have that. All right, these last 4, where are we at for time? Not too bad. Excuse me. These last 4 I would consider grails for me. The record's over. But, this one here I actually showed in my last video. But what I showed was given to me free. It was a unofficial press from the 80s. I think pressed in the UK. Like a white label promo. And a total pirate press, But since then, my local store, Red Scroll, on 2 occasions, they got in collections of sealed original 60s records, mostly Psych records. And the first time it happened, I've since shown that stuff in a video, but it happened again, and I grabbed a couple things. I would have grabbed more, but, it is what it is. Still sealed. I haven't opened it yet. And I haven't opened it only because I have that other copy. And it's sort of like still sealed. It's probably one of the most valuable things that I own in my collection, simply because it's sealed. It's still valuable open, but I probably will open it eventually, I just haven't yet. It's been probably close to 2 months now, maybe a month and a half. But anyway, The Wizards from Kansas. Yes, an original, still sealed, on Mercury. Now, I posted this online, and I was asked, how do I know it's an original? It's pretty, apparent. apparent. Some Mercury releases had a sort of faux leather textured cover, which this does. You could see it and feel it through the shrink. It also has a drill hole there right through the Mercury, which, that hasn't been done probably since, 1988. And it's only been reissued more recently. That's the only official that I know of official reissue. But yeah, this is definitely an original. And still sealed at the moment. So, Psych album. These guys are from Kansas, but they definitely have a San Francisco Psych sort of sound. And just excellent stuff. I mean, this is, if you like Jefferson Airplane, and they actually opened the album with a killer version of High Flying Bird. Like a 6-minute version of it. But yeah, if you like Psych, if you like San Francisco Psych, you will like this. The Wizards from Kansas. 1970, I want to say. Yeah, 1970. Killer. But yeah, I'm sure I'll open it eventually. This one was an incredible find, found locally at Red Scroll. They had just gotten in a little stack of collection, I think. And I walked in the store, and it was right on top. And I was like, oh my God, It's the U.S. press. Original UK presses of this go for a lot more money. But the U.S. press is still pretty rare and expensive. But it's definitely a cheaper alternative. The originals are on Vertigo. So this is sort of a prog, jazz rock prog album from the UK. And they only put out this one album. And that is the band Affinity. Yeah, look at that. On Paramount Records. So happy to have this. And it's a promo copy. The only thing that sucks is that it has this sold at one point for $1. I mean, look at that. Someone bought it for $1. Anyway, this has been on there for years, obviously. I did my best to try and clean it off, but it is just not coming. So I figured, you know what? It's a promo copy. Promo copies generally have some weird things going on, so I'm just going to leave it rather than risk damaging. I didn't damage it, so. But yeah, UK band. They put out this one album. Linda Hoyle is the vocalist, and she sort of has a Grace Slick crossed with Julie Driscoll sort of vocalist, you know. Very keyboard driven. When I first put it on, I was like, all right, it's good. It's a sort of typical sort of jazz rock prog thing from that time. But with listening to it more and more, I've grown to like it a lot. Like it's a great record, and I love that cover. It's just like you see that cover and you just want this record, you know. But they do a number of covers. They do All Along the Watchtower, sort of in that vein, you know, this sort of jazz prog. Coconut Grove, which is by the Loving Spoonful, which is a great song. They do another one. Which one was it? I Wonder If I Care As Much, I believe, by the Everly Brothers, I believe. But yeah, on Paramount is the back. So yeah, it opens up like that. And it is a white label promo. It's in beautiful shape, other than that sticker, you know. But I believe the Paramount label is usually gray. It's a white label promo. And yeah, so glad to have this. This is a really great find. These next two I bought online, and just really glad to have them. Excellent stuff. The Rasheed Ali Quartet with New Directions in Modern Music on Survival. Now, Rasheed Ali, of course, primarily known as John Coltrane's free jazz drummer, you know, real, probably a leader in free jazz drumming, but also features Fred Simmons. It's two long compositions, recorded live at the East, and the first side is Shalom Alaikum. Assalamu Alaikum. Thinking like Shalom. Assalamu Alaikum. And great track. Just Carlos Ward plays saxophone and flute on here, and he really shines on side one. And on piano on side two is Fred Simmons, and I would say he's sort of the star of side two. But of course, Rasheed Ali on drums, just incredible, and a beautiful copy of it. So very happy to have it. Sort of add to my my other record on Survival, Duo Infinity. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. One that gets lumped into the krautrock category, but it's not really krautrock. It's more minimalist drone than anything, and that's Tony Conrad with Faust, Outside the Dream Syndicate. So happy to have this. I've wanted this one for a long time. So yeah, Tony Conrad is an American. He's from, I believe, New Hampshire. I know he's from New England, maybe Vermont. Vermont or New Hampshire. And he moved to New York in the early 60s, sort of hooked up with the avant-garde art scene, became a filmmaker, and he joined the, what is it called? They have another name, but it's nicknamed the Dream Syndicate with John Cale and Lamont Young, and they pretty much made minimalist drone music, you know. They called it dream music. But yeah, John Cale, of course, went on to form the Velvet Underground with Lou Reed. Now, Tony Conrad was never a member of the Velvet Underground, but he is sort of part of the legend. I believe John Cale moved into the apartment that Tony Conrad, they were all friends. Of course, well, they were in a band together. So Tony Conrad was moving out of this apartment. John Cale moved in, and he left behind a book. And as you know, the Velvet Underground are named after a sort of a paperback smut sort of book about S&M, and that's where they got the title. So they sort of inadvertently got the title from Tony Conrad. But yeah, so Tony Conrad meets Huey Nettlebeck, who was Faust's producer, and he invites him to come to Germany and make an album with Faust. So what you have here is probably one of the best pieces of minimalist music that I own. Love it. It's, again, minimalist drone. It's trance-like. It is just otherworldly at times. It's incredible. It's an original on Caroline. It has, you know, Faust sort of percussion that they're famous for, you know. on Caroline. It was actually the very first release on Caroline, which is a subsidiary of Virgin, which they used to put out more avant-garde stuff. And yeah, it's the first thing that ever came out on Caroline. A beautiful copy. I mean, a little bit of wear and like staining on the cover. But other than that, it's in beautiful shape, you know. And so happy to own this. Incredible stuff. Anyway, still pretty long. The next one will be shorter. It's sort of my first one back. So anyway, thank you for watching and hanging in there if you did. And yeah, leave me comments, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.